When I heard those gentle taps on the window, I realized tonight wasn't going to be an ordinary night. My name's Dina. I'm 23 years old and an art student at a regular college in a small town. I live alone in a tiny apartment on the third floor of an old building, a place where the walls are cracked and the hallways always smell of dampness and dust. Honestly, up until that cursed night, I was never afraid of being alone. Everything started about a week earlier. Every night, right around midnight, my phone would start vibrating. Text messages from unknown numbers. At first, I thought it was someone from college playing a prank. The content of the messages was nothing but a few vague words. Are you alone? The lights are on. Are you awake? The messages were simple yet strangely unsettling. It felt like someone was watching me from somewhere. I didn't reply. I tried to ignore them. Tossed my phone aside and told myself I'll get bored in a few days. But it was wrong. Each night the messages became more threatening. I can hear your heartbeat. You look beautiful when you're scared. And each night, I grew a little more afraid. That night, everything changed. I was lying on my bed, a sketchbook resting on my lap. The desk lamp was on, the curtains were drawn. It was close to 1 a.m. when my phone vibrated. At first, I wanted to ignore it, but something twisted deep inside me. I picked it up. The screen lit up. It was a photo. A photo of me. Sitting right there on my bed, head bent over my sketchbook, the desk lamp glowing behind me. The photo had been taken from the exact angle that my bedroom window overlooked. My heart pounded violently. I froze. For a moment, I didn't even dare lift my head. I just stared at the window with my eyes. The curtains were drawn, but there was a thin gap between the two layers of fabric. Enough for someone to look through. I couldn't breathe. Gently, I set the phone down, desperately hoping I was dreaming, that this was just a nightmare. But then, another soft vibration buzzed from the phone. A new text message. Smile. You look prettier. I screamed instinctively. The first thing I did was call 911. With a trembling, broken voice, I told the operator that someone was stalking me. Less than 5 minutes later, 2 police officers were at my door. Officer Jacobs and his younger, quieter partner, Miller. I rushed outside and clung to them as tightly as I could. Stay calm, ma'am, Jacobs said. Let's take a look around. They searched every corner of the apartment, under the bed, inside the closet, the bathroom, even behind the furniture. Nothing. No sign of anyone, no trace of forced entry. Then they went outside to check around the window. Their flashlight beams swept through the darkness of the street. No one was there. The street was empty and silent, except for the cold wind rustling through the trees. But just as they were about to finish, something caught Miller's attention. He pointed his flashlight upward toward the rooftop. What's that? Right on the edge of the rooftop, directly above my window, there was a single wet footprint. As if someone had walked barefoot in the rain, except it hadn't rained that night. And there was only that one footprint, no trail across the rooftop, no sign of someone climbing down. Just a solitary, wet footprint. Jacobs scratched his head and said, maybe it's some kid's prank, just be careful for a few nights. Keep the curtains drawn, lock the doors. He tried to reassure me, but even his own eyes betrayed concern. After they left, I didn't turn off the lights. I stayed awake all night, staring at the door, the window. Every small sound, every faint shadow made my body tremble. I turned off my phone. I couldn't stand another damned vibration. From that night on, my life changed. I couldn't sleep at night anymore. I always felt like someone was standing just beyond the window. All I had to do was pull the curtain aside and I would see their face. But I never dared to. Weeks passed, the messages stopped coming. The police found nothing else. But that feeling of being watched, never left. Even now, as I'm writing this, I find myself glancing at the window every few minutes. Because sometimes, I swear, from behind the closed curtain, I can see a faint shadow. A shadow that seems to be waiting for me to smile again. I'd be grateful if you could like the video before I continue the story. I was only supposed to stay there for a few nights, but from the very first night, I realized I had made a mistake. My name is Evan Blake. When my grandfather passed away, I inherited an old house from him, tucked away in a remote village so isolated that even GPS sometimes struggled to find it. Honestly, at first I thought it could be a good opportunity to escape the city's chaos, spend some time alone, and clear my head. But I was wrong. That night, the weather had turned unusually bad. The rain wouldn't stop, the wind howled, and the sound of dry branches tapping against the wooden walls filled the house with an eerie rhythm. I was upstairs, sitting next to an old window. I had my phone in hand, scrolling aimlessly through social media. Every now and then, I'd read a page from a book I had abandoned halfway. I had no plans other than to just get through the night. Suddenly, I heard a soft tap-tap. Not from the door, not from the hallway, but from the window right next to me. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Maybe the wind had thrown a branch against it. But no, the sound was clear. It repeated, this time a little firmer, as if someone was carefully, gently, but persistently tapping on the glass. For a moment, my brain froze. Was there even a balcony outside this window? No, definitely not. The wall was flat with nothing to stand on. Besides, who in their right mind would be outside in this kind of rain? My hands turned cold. Slowly, I turned my head towards the window. I didn't dare look directly, but my eyes were drawn to the glass. There was nothing there, just rain pouring down the dusty window. I felt a bit relieved. It must have been the wind or something hitting the window. I turned back to my phone, but just as my finger touched the screen, I heard tap, tap, tap again. 3 quick knocks, as if someone wanted to say, I'm here. I couldn't stand it anymore. I got up. I approached the window. In the dead of night, the only light was the faint glow from my desk lamp. Outside, it was pitch black. My hand was trembling, but I pulled the curtain aside. I saw nothing. Just for a split second, though, I thought I caught a glimpse of a small shadow. Something moving quickly just beyond the rain. But maybe it was just my imagination. I don't know. Either way, I spent the rest of that night wide awake, battling an overwhelming unease. Every little sound seemed magnified 100 times in my mind. When morning finally came and the rain eased a little, I decided to go outside and check everything. Maybe I could find footprints or something. Maybe I could convince myself it had all been a dream. I put on my boots, threw a jacket over myself, and stepped out. The cold air stung my face. The soft soil of the yard was muddy from last night's rain. I circled the house. Nothing. No footprints, no signs of anything. Not even animal tracks. But when I went to the back of the house, where my bedroom window was, I froze. On the glass, there was a clear imprint of a wet hand, as if someone had gently pressed their palm against it. Not just random splattered fingers. It looked intentional, deliberate. I held my breath. I backed away slowly, my eyes dropped to the ground. Something was lying next to the wall, right beneath the window. I bent down. It was a keychain. A keychain with a tiny skull charm, small, rusted, cold metal skull. As far as I could remember, my grandfather was never one to collect keychains, and I was sure I had never seen anything like that in the house before. I looked at the flat wall, at the second-floor window. There was no way anyone could have reached it from the ground. No ladder marks, no signs of climbing. Strange silence filled the air. Even the birds were quiet. At that moment, I realized it didn't really matter what had happened. I just needed to leave, to get far away from here. I rushed back into the house, packed my things. Within less than an hour, I was on my way back to the city. I still have that keychain. I didn't throw it away. I tucked it deep inside a drawer. Sometimes, when I desperately want to believe that night was just a nightmare, I pull it out. I hold it in my hand. And every time, it still feels colder than it should. If you want to hear more scary stories, make sure to subscribe so we can reach 1,000 subs soon and bring you more.